Chapter 3 Firewall Breaker. Lucio preferred quiet sectors. The kind where the system's hum felt like a steady breath, where streams of blue data flowed like rivers beneath transparent platforms, where everything made sense. Patterns. Order. Predictability. This sector was none of those things. He stood before the largest firewall he had ever seen. Normally, a sector firewall was a smooth, gently shimmering barrier, a gate of pure logic controlling access between zones. You could see the layers in it if you looked closely enough, the authentication plates, the encryption curls, the dynamic locks shifting like gears beneath the surface. But this one thrashed. Blue energy convulsed across its surface like lightning trapped inside glass. Cracks spidered outward in jagged, unnatural lines. Sections flickered from blue to red to black and back again so quickly it hurt to look at. Something had forced the firewall into full lockdown. And whatever had done it wasn't done. Lucio took a slow breath and lowered himself into a crouch, his visor zooming in on the corrupted patterns dancing across the barrier. "No, that's not corruption," he murmured. "That's intrusion logic. Not just glitches. Commands." He replayed the last 10 seconds of firewall activity across his HUD. The patterns weren't random at all, they were calculated. Layered. Almost rhythmic. Like someone typing rapidly on a keyboard. Except no one on the human side had access to this level of the system. His heartbeat quickened. If the anomalies Darrell and Al encountered were connected to this firewall breach, and the signs pointed strongly to that, then something was coordinating them. Something clever enough to understand the structure of the network. Something bold enough to strike multiple sectors simultaneously. He pulled up the energy reserves in his suit. Energy level, 91%. Neural link, stable. Suit temp, nominal. Good enough. Lucio stepped forward, placing a hand against the barrier. The firewall hissed at his touch, not physically, but in a burst of distorted audio output. His glove sparked where it met the surface, blue against blue, but the firewall pushed back hard. He winced. Even without entering battle mode, he could feel the strain the system was under. A firewall wasn't supposed to fight an operator. They were designed to work with them. Now it resisted him like a living thing. He scanned the corruption again, letting patterns flow through his visor in rapid succession. He found it. A weak point. Small. Momentary. But there, right in the center of the barrier, where the corrupted layers crisscrossed like tangled wires. Lucio flexed his fingers, letting blue arcs of crackling energy dance between them. "Okay," he whispered. "Let's see if you hit back." He stepped back, planted his feet, and channeled power into his arms. Blue lightning crawled up his suit, gathering in concentric pulses around his hands. His visor dimmed automatically to shield him from the glare. The firewall pulsed again. Flickered. It was ready for him. Good. Lucio thrust his hands forward. Break. A bolt of blue energy surged from his palms, crashing into the firewall with explosive force. The barrier rippled like water struck by a meteor. Shockwaves spread outward, bending the air itself. The firewall pushed back. A counter-surge slammed into Lucio, scraping sparks from his armor as he skidded backward across the platform. He gritted his teeth and reinforced his stance, boots locking magnetically to the ground. "Strong firewall," he muttered. "But not stronger than me." He adjusted his output. Not more power, different power. Lucio was a strategist. A pattern reader. He didn't overpower things. He outthought them. He struck again, but this time he angled the energy slightly, weaving it into the barrier instead of slamming straight on. The firewall reacted, sending back a more linear, predictable counterpulse. Lucio smiled. "Found you." He redirected his next strike precisely into the rhythm of the firewall's instability. A surgical insertion of energy, not a brute force blast. He punched it like a codebreaker hitting the exact failing line of logic. The barrier cracked. A spiderweb of fractures shot across the firewall. The surface vibrated violently, shards of digital light falling away like bits of fractured glass. Lucio stepped forward, gathering more energy. The firewall responded with a sudden pulse, a shockwave strong enough to knock most operators flat. But Lucio slid 1 foot back and let the shockwave flow around him like wind around a stone. "You're learning," he said calmly. "But I learn faster." He thrust his hands forward and unleashed a precise, focused strike directly into the now exposed weak point. The firewall shattered. It burst outward in a cascade of blue shards, scattering across the void like dying stars. The sound, or the closest thing to sound digital destruction could produce, echoed across the empty sector. Lucio lowered his arms slowly, breath steady, but his heart pounding harder than he wanted to admit. Firewall down. But the sector beyond was pitch black. Normally, a sector interior glowed with structured geometry and stable data streams. Even damaged sectors had flickers of light or residual code. This one was a void. A complete blackout. Lucio hesitated only 1 second before stepping inside. His boots made no sound. The darkness swallowed his visor's light with unnatural efficiency, forcing his HUD to compensate with enhanced outlines and data mapping overlays. Then he saw it. A ripple. Not light. Not movement. A distortion. Like something standing perfectly still, but glitching at the edges. A humanoid outline made of shifting fragments of corrupted code. Lucio froze. His breath caught. A phantom. Fully formed. It stood about 20 meters inside the dark sector, facing him, or rather, oriented toward him. Its fragmented red eyes flickered like dying embers. Its body was tall and thin, limbs elongated just slightly beyond human proportions. As if it was built to mimic, but not perfectly. Lucio's visor tracked it immediately. Unidentified entity detected. Signature match, none. Behavioral pattern, observing. Threat level, unknown. The phantom didn't move. Neither did Lucio. He swallowed, steadying his breathing. "Are you the one who locked the firewall?" he asked softly. The phantom twitched a glitch motion, skipping frames like corrupted footage. Then its head tilted slightly, analyzing him. It studied him. Lucio felt the hairs on the back of his neck rise. The thing wasn't scanning him for identification. It was scanning him for weakness. Its red eyes brightened. Lucio stepped back into a defensive stance. "Okay," he whispered. "We do this now." The phantom lunged. It moved impossibly fast, a blur of fragmented code, crossing the distance in less than a heartbeat. Lucio rolled sideways, sparks erupting as the phantom's clawed hand carved through the platform where he had just stood. He sprang up, pulling power into his hands. Blue arcs twisted around his arms as he unleashed a counterstrike, hitting the phantom across its torso. The blast flung fragments of corrupted code outward, but the phantom's body reassembled instantly, reforming like liquid glitch. Lucio narrowed his eyes. That was new. He dodged another strike, barely catching the sweeping motion of the phantom's jagged arm. It moved like it was skipping frames, unpredictable, erratic. Dangerous. Lucio pivoted, sliding behind it, and struck with a precise burst aimed at its data spine. The phantom staggered, glitching harder now, but still reconstructing itself almost instantly. Adaptive regeneration. Lucio muttered. That's going to be a problem. The phantom crouched low, red eyes brightening as it prepared its next attack. Lucio's mind raced. He had seconds, maybe less. He needed to break its pattern. Identify its internal logic. Deconstruct its movement cycle. He needed wait. Not break its pattern. Use its pattern. His visor replayed its movements in accelerated loops, the glitches, the distortions, the reconstruction lag. There. A micro-latency spike every time it regenerated. A fraction of a second where its structure destabilized. Not enough time for a normal operator. But Lucio wasn't normal. He exhaled, grounding himself. As the phantom lunged again, Lucio stepped into the attack, slipping under its outstretched arm and firing a blast directly into its chest at the exact moment the phantom's regeneration cycle peaked. The blast tore straight through it. The phantom convulsed violently, its form fracturing into shards of corrupted code that dissolved into the air like burning ash. Silence fell. Lucio stood alone in the darkness, chest rising and falling with deep breaths. Then his calm lit up. "Lucio? Lucio, come in," Darrell's strained voice echoed. Lucio tapped his visor. I'm here. Firewall collapse registered 10 seconds ago, Al added. Tell me that was you. Lucio looked at the fading remnants of the phantom drifting like red sparks. It was, he said quietly. And I found something. What? Darrell asked. Lucio's voice dropped. A phantom. Fully formed. Intelligent. A pause. How intelligent? Al asked. Lucio turned toward the darkness beyond the ruined firewall. It was learning, he said softly. And adapting. And it wasn't alone. Someone, something, is directing them. He stepped back toward the broken firewall remains. And we need to regroup. Now. Because whatever they thought the anomalies were, they were wrong. This wasn't corruption. This was invasion.